Hello and welcome to BergenStages Television, our entertainment magazine here at Bergen Community College. I'm Jim Bumgardner, your host, and on today's episode we're going to be talking about the upcoming BergenStages production of Harvey, the delightful comedy written by Mary Chase. And who better to talk about the show with than two of the actors from the show. So please join me in welcome Gabriella Cornier and Zachary Ingledew. Welcome, guys. How are you?
Doing well. Doing good. Thank you for having us.
It's so good to have you. I so want to talk about the show. It's such a fun show, yeah?
Yes.
What a comedy. Did you know the show before you even heard of it from here? Had you been aware of this?
Well, previously I saw a advertisement for Harvey when it was on Broadway, but I didn't see the show itself. You know, I kind of looked at it like, well, what does a invisible rabbit, that wasn't my taste at the time.
Right.
But I've matured and I've come to appreciate, theater that isn't pop music.
Yeah.
So I also heard about the movie from the 70s.
Right.
But
it's earlier than the 70s, but
Oh, my
good.
apologies.
That's okay. Nope.
I didn't check that out because since I knew the production was coming up at Bergen, I wanted to kind of start with a clean slate and see what Peter's interpretation was going to look like.
Cool. Had you heard of it?
No, I heard about it when it was advertised in the back of the programs for all of last year's shows, and I was like,
But other than that, it was a whole new world
whole
for
new
you.
thing,
And
but
I grew up knowing the show Harvey, so it was just one of those that we grew up with from the film version. But it's such a great story, and it's great to bring it back to life. But before we begin to talk about the show itself, I want to talk about you guys. How did we get you here at Bergen Community College? What did you do before you got here? So, Gabriella, I'll start with you. How did we get you?
Thank you, Alex Ravezzi. I'll just first and foremost say that.
Yeah, Alex? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, great.
So in regards to theater background, I've always had interest in acting, whether it was watching television and movies. I took dance classes, but their theater program was a lot more strict on keeping things consistent and repetitive. It was only until I came to Bergen that I learned that every night is different and that you are supposed to be present in the scene. Alex Ravezzi, back in 2021, encouraged me to have my first audition here.
Oh, wow.
That was Scapan, and ever since then, I'm very grateful he
I feel like you've
showed me
been here
this
forever. Isn't that
opportunity.
funny? It's just Scapan is the
Yeah,
first one.
I
but
mean,
just feel like,
the community is so welcoming, and there's a lot of great people, so I feel very comfortable, always coming back.
Cool. How did we get Zachary?
I did not do my homework and didn't do any college research towards the end of my high school life.
For us.
So I was like, well, I have no real plans, and so I started Bergen as a general ed because I loved doing theater and it was like a hobby and fun, but I didn't know if it was something I wanted to do. But then I took a theater class here and I worked some of the shows and I met the people and I really solidified this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. And so I switched to a theater major end.
And this is the beginning of your second year.
Yes.
Correct? So immediately, as a gen ed major, you already went into auditions. You knew,
Yes.
Hey, did you do this in high school?
Yes, I did the musical all 4 years in high school and a play the last 2 years of high school.
Great. And where did you go to high school?
Northern Valley Otapan Regional High School.
Good school. Good program, too. That's great. What shows did you do there?
There I did, for musicals I did Into the Woods, and then we did a virtual production of A Chorus Line, then we did the SpongeBob musical, and then Dirty Ron Scoundrels.
Cool. Great shows. Great.
Yes.
Gabrielle, did you do shows in high school? Were you a high school?
Yes. The shows we did in high school the scripts were very cheap, so they weren't very well known. But
Royalties are expensive, so if you don't have a budget, you're paying a lot for royalties.
exactly.
So, yeah,
That also then gave us the creative liberties to make our own interpretations and not have to live up to previous expectations of those shows.
Okay.
So I did do theater in high school. When I went into college, I lingered around the theater department. I wasn't dedicated to it. I did their equivalent of the director's lab.
Okay.
So that kept me, in tune with my acting. And then when I graduated college was when COVID hit. So I was pretty work-oriented just because I wanted more stability. And then when I found myself coming back home, I wanted to incorporate what truly made me happy, and I wanted to reach back the foundation of myself.
Oh, cool.
And that led me to theater
Wow,
again.
That's great. That's nice. And where'd you go to high school?
Wallington Junior Senior High School.
Oh, okay. Great. And then where'd you go to college?
Salisbury University in Maryland.
Nice.
It was far enough away.
Yeah, far enough away, but close enough to
come
Get
back
here
home.
on a weekend if you needed to.
Yeah.
Good. And how did you meet Alex Rivitzi?
Alex, we met in middle school. I stole his gym partner. And since then, we were in the same proximity, and we just got closer and closer as senior year approached. And I think it's because we kind of saw ourselves as outsiders amongst the high school population. And just being weird, we just had each other's backs, and we just
It was like glue.
keep going. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So Alex graduated from here, you're a great example that you don't have to be a Bergen Community College student to participate in our program. Because we're a community college, we like to open up to the community to participate. So it's so welcoming to have you here, thinking that you certainly have a place on our stage as well.
Thank you.
Good. So now that you're a theater major, what does that mean? If you had to tell someone who said, I think I want to go to Bergen to be a theater major, what does that actually mean here?
It means you are always doing something, whether it's auditioning for shows or just learning and getting off book for the classes of requirements like acting for the camera or audition techniques. You are constantly looking at plays, looking at monologues, looking at scenes, and delving into really what it means to be a working actor.
Good. And it's a good program. It's a pretty thorough program. It's an AFA
wonderful.
in theater.
Yes.
So it's a fine arts degree. So there's a lot of theater classes you're taking,
Yes.
which is kind of full and fulfilling.
You
too.
touch a little of everything.
Plus the gen ed. So you still complete, take your gen ed classes as required, but you better be taking your gen ed classes.
I do, it's just I don't like doing it.
But then you'll also take a lot of theater classes.
Yes.
And what did you major in college?
Conflict analysis and dispute resolution.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
It's perfectly for theater.
And real life, I
It
apply it
does,
every
doesn't
day.
Have you thought of being a director or producer?
I mean, seeing how things run here at Bergen, it has inspired me to not be so afraid of the behind the scenes. I think my interpretation as an actor has been to make everything in the moment and present. And there's preparation work, there is research behind it, but to see how many people prepare even further, for that
Months,
production.
yeah. I mean, I don't know, but Harvey, we started in June. We started having the conversation about, the technical things in June, and the rights were secured back in, I think, March, that we knew that we were going to do it, got the rights in March, and then started having the conversation with designers. So yeah, it is a lot of pre-planning for it, yeah.
Yeah.
So that thought of being a pre-planner?
It's there.
Oh, good.
It's in there.
Good.
It's there.
And both of you were involved in Director's Lab.
Yes.
Yeah. So you've been doing a lot of things there. What else you did? Your first one was Noises. No, Scapan.
Scapan, yes.
And what other shows did you do here at the college? Scapan?
Scapan, Rumors,
Rumors, right?
Radium Girls, Midsummer Night's Dream. That was the Bergen Alumni Theater.
Group,
Laramie Project, where I met this guy for the first
That's
time.
right, that's right.
Yeah. Then it was La Mancha.
Right.
That was my first time working
Right,
with
the
you.
both of you together again?
She Kills Monsters.
Again.
Okay.
And I know I'm missing one. The Director's Lab.
The Director's Lab.
Yes.
Good. Wow. And you did everything last year.
Yes.
So Laramie
Laramie,
Project.
Man of La
Man of La
Mancha,
Mancha.
She Kills Monsters, Grapes of Wrath, Director's Lab, and then with Bergen Alumni Theater, Cartoon.
That was a busy year.
Yeah.
That was a busy year. And then I'm going to pick on another little thing about you. You had a really kind of interesting summer. You had an opportunity this summer.
Yes.
What did you do?
I got a scholarship to attend the 6-week summer summit at Michael Howard Acting Studios in the city.
Good. And how was it? One of the best in the city.
It was awesome. Everyone there was a working actor or someone working in the field of the arts, so they were giving us modern information and modern, not only lessons and advice in acting and techniques, but also what it's like working there, what it will be like an audition room. We had like an hour and a half lesson of just how to walk into a room, and it was so valuable and so much fun.
The eye contact, where your handshake,
Exactly.
all those little things.
What color to wear
that
that
nobody
fits your
teaches
type.
you. Yeah,
Exactly.
What a great opportunity to have that. And so being around these working actors all summer, was that an inspiration for connections or?
Yes, they all let us talk to each other. I was talking with one and preparation for Harvey, just helped me get ready, and some of them want to come see the show, so if they might be here. So.
Cool. And they have a program that's a couple of years too, so you can,
Yes,
you could do
they have the summer program, which is 6 weeks, and then they also have the 1-year program and the 2-year programs. I don't know much about those because I haven't done them yet, or might not do them, I don't know. Depends what life allows, but they're there, and definitely something
and great to have an introduction to that and this world that's out there in theater. And I think a lot of times actors think that they're done after they're done with school, but it's great to continue acting classes because I think you said it's just this craft that you have to keep present and reminding yourself that I have to be in the moment. For my non-actors out there, which I have a few out there, what does being in the moment mean to an actor?
If I may.
I
feel like I keep interrupting you first.
Okay, go for it.
There's definitely a sense of trust and connection and security. Because even if you don't say exactly what's on the page, or if you don't do those exact movements that's been instructed to you, you're just feeding off each other. And since there's a care for you, your partner, however many partners are in the scene, and also the story that you're telling together, you then bring a likeness of feeding off each other.
No, that's great. That's great. Do you want to add to
it.
that at all?
Yeah, it's about being real and not, even though we're actors, not like acting. Like we're portraying the character, we are the character, but in that moment,
So it's honesty. It's a lot of honesty in what you're doing there and connecting with each other. Is the audience participating in this with you?
If we
Does
do
it make a difference? Does it make a difference how the audience is?
I would say yes.
If we do our job right, they're not watching actors, they're watching a different world and they're being lost in that.
But especially in a comedy, if they're laughing, you know.
We got them.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You hook them and you're feeling it, and it motivates you a little more. Do you think it kind of as an actor going, yes.
They like me.
They like me. They really like me. Or they don't like me. Oh, no. But it does make a difference. And I think that's part of being in the moment is saying, I'm aware that they're out there, but I'm still honest with what I'm giving to. It's really a strange, now that I'm saying it out loud, it's a strange world that you are in the moment of what's happening with your character in the play, but you're also very aware of the audience and that that joke is one of the most, especially comedy. I think comedy we're much more aware. A drama, if you hear a sniffle, oh good, I got them. But
Right. Yeah.
but Oh, cool. So what do you plan to do? I know you're working. Where are you working now? You have a job.
I'm working at a cafe in Hoboken called Joe Boken. Yeah, cute play on words. It's right next to the NJ Transit station. It's been around since 2018, and within the last 4 months, it's had a really uplifting makeover, very new upgrades, new menu, new aesthetics.
And you're part of that. You're part of that.
Yes, it's a surreal experience to see something changing, but for the better.
Oh, good. So a good plug for Joe Boken if you're in Hoboken.
23 Hudson Place.
So do you think you'll just keep theater as kind of a hobby? Is that kind of your, or do you think of going further and trying to make a profession out of it?
Yeah, I have a Google Doc that has a bunch of information on it. As we all know, life gets in the way. You sometimes discourage yourself because the goal seems so large. So theater, no matter at what level it is, I will always prioritize to keep it present in my life. As of right now, what it calls for is more so, keeping it as a hobby, but still keeping it around.
But it's in your life. It's in your life.
Exactly.
And what are your hopes to do?
Trying to get out there. I want to be an actor or performer somehow. I don't know yet if I want to prioritize film and television, stage, or voice acting. I'm leaning more towards voice acting.
Cool. Are you thinking of a 4-year school after this, or are you thinking of getting out into the workforce?
Actually, I'm not. I'm thinking of starting a little bit in the workforce, but taking specific classes to further skills I want to use in the world,
like at the
stage combat
the
and stuff.
studios.
Yes, or the Michael Howard Studios again.
Cool. Well, we're going to take a short break because we haven't even begun talking about Harvey. So we'll talk about the auditions and about what you're going through for the rehearsal process. So come right back. We're talking to Zachary and Gabriella about Harvey coming in the next part of this section of this, whatever I'm talking about, coming up next. Thanks. Come right back. Hello and welcome back to BergenStages Television. Today we're talking to Zachary Ingledew and Gabriella Cornier, the one and only, talking about the show upcoming at BergenStages called Harvey. It's written by Mary Chase and will be directed by Professor Peter Helf. And you guys both auditioned, and you're playing two of my favorite roles in musical in comedy. You're Elwood P. Dowd, and you're playing the sister.
Yes, Betta Louise.
Yep. So the auditions. Was it complicated? How were the auditions for you for the show?
Just the typical BergenStage auditions, and I think what the auditions like are in a lot of places. We were given the material a few weeks beforehand, which I think is out of the normal, but it's community theater and a school, so that's normal for that, I think. But we're given the material, we show up to the auditions, we sign the papers, the actor's contract,
Forms
conflicts,
and
all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then we just brought into the room, we read lines, we'll read lines with someone else, we'll leave, we might come back and read more lines, you might not. The director looks at it, stage manager looks at it, and then a few days later, cast list.
Cool. And I know you had worked on it before. Did you know which part you wanted to do when you had looked at the script?
Going into the show, I was very willing, right, whatever part you're willing to give me. I did read for Vetta when I had my audition. I read twice. And the actress I read with for Myrtle May was also casted as Myrtle May.
Playing your daughter.
Yes, so I feel like they may have just seen the chemistry like almost immediately and were like, perfect. But yeah.
And between the two of you, did you guys read together?
Surprisingly,
No.
no.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Did you went on Thursday?
Yeah.
Well,
I
you're in
went
your
on
own world
Wednesday.
too. It's funny that your character is kind of in his own
Yeah.
world, just kind of plays the periphery of everything there. Cool. So let's talk a little bit about the show, and then we'll talk about the process you're going to. So what is the plot of the show? Who wants to begin? And I'll
I think you should take
Well, the show is about a man named Elwood P. Dowd, who's a very gentlemanly person who insists on inviting and bringing and introducing his best friend Harvey to everyone. The issue is, though, that Harvey is an invisible 6-foot-tall white rabbit
that only he sees.
that only he sees.
And so there he is. This is his but that's already been going on, right? We don't find out when he first started seeing the rabbit. This has always been his life, right? So it's not like you're pulling this into something. It's like, but she's finally, you live together.
Yes.
You share a house of your mother's. Was it your mother had lived? Or?
Yes, our mother's
Yes.
estate. It was then put into Elwood's name. And so he's not living with us, we're living with him.
Gotcha. Okay.
And
But you're a socialite, or
Yes,
Yeah.
Vetta has a very strong understanding that, especially as a woman in the 1940s, that reputation is key in survival. And so with her daughter, Myrtle May, she's very driven on getting her secure with a man. So it's getting to the point where that should be, going on.
Post World War II. Let's get married today.
Yeah.
Good.
And so, right, it's Elwood that's standing in the way of that, and she decides to take action.
Because of the embarrassment.
Yes.
You're just
yeah.
thinking you're being embarrassed by him always talking about his friend Harvey.
Yeah, it's getting to the point where it's really hindering our reputation amongst the socialites, and that can then endanger our status, my daughter's future. So as much as she loves her brother, it's very conflicting,
Yeah, you want what's best for him, but you also want what's best for you and your daughter.
Exactly.
And the show opens up already at a big social event at your house.
Yes.
And fortunately, he's not there, and so there won't be the embarrassment until, of course,
he shows up.
he shows up.
Yeah.
And you've got a whole room filled with women and at a luncheon at your house, and it all falls. So then what do you decide to do with your brother?
Just give him a little vacation.
She wants to lock me in an insane asylum or sanitarium.
Which is interesting. We don't really talk about those anymore. It's not like an issue as much as it was at that period of time to put someone in an institution, to put him away. That was
Right.
it. Just lock him up, and he will be out of your hair, and you can do whatever you want with the house, and it'll become yours because you'll take over.
Right.
And so you go to the sanitarium, and you talk to them, and what happens?
Right. As a woman in the 1940s, they then don't believe me. There's a funny switch up, and I then take Elwood's admission And I spent some time in the sanitarium instead.
So they listen to you telling the story about your brother thinking, you're the nut.
Yeah.
And they go and put you in.
Yes.
And then how do you end up there?
I don't end up in there.
No, I mean, how do you end up going to the...
I was brought there, and they put me upstairs, and then they're like, there's been a mix-up, and they bring me back down, and they're talking with me about how they're putting her away, and they need me to sign these things, all while I'm trying to introduce them to Harvey, but they keep interrupting me before I can.
So you can't introduce...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I leave, and then they finally figure it out, and then they start looking for me, and chaos ensues.
And you bring Harvey everywhere, right?
Absolutely.
He's just to the bar, you buy him drinks.
Harvey's a free spirit. He does whatever he wants. So he spends a lot of time with me.
As
but
6 foot,
as
1.5 inch rabbits
as
tend to.
pukas do. Yes, he's officially called a puka.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. But sometimes he wants to wander off on his own, and then I gotta find him.
And it's wonderful that you're already touching on it. There's a lot of what we'll call dramaturgs. There's a lot of that period of history is interesting. I don't know how much of a conversation you've had yet about women in the 40s, men in the 40s. Institutions like this, but I think it's a great conversation to be had. So a lot of people say, "Oh, Harvey's just a bunch of fluff," no pun intended, just pure entertainment. But I think when you look at deep in the core, to talk about putting someone away in an asylum just because you don't, like what they believe or think, is such a strong position to take that I think is a conversation for this particular play. Plus, women, as you said, she wasn't believed because she was a woman coming up with this. So I think that's just an interesting part of this story, too.
And I mentioned to Zach briefly, we discussed a little bit, between our cues, when we were called for blocking, the relationship between Veda and Elwood is so... It very is a real sibling relationship because, as you said, Veda wants the best for her brother, but Veda also has to look out for herself because of the survival of that time. And so when they collide on how they should be seen by everybody, he's very much true to himself and Veda very much wants to put up a front. Just as siblings, they both have the understanding that presentation and perception is everything. Fortunately, when they're their authentic selves, they can still turn to each other as family and have that safety and that connection.
Oh, that's great. That's great. That's great. Yeah. What a great story. I mean, it really is just everything that you're talking about there. Just as their relationship is very, and she's doing what she thinks is best. It's not like she's
right, not out of spite.
Right, not out of spite. It's just like this is best for you and everybody and for us. So to take this over, and life will be better if we take this on. We don't want to give away the ending, so I'm not going to go any further with the plot than just kind of saying it's a lot of fun. And what we've just talked about is the journey. It all takes place in one day. The story is a 24-hour period. It's really strange, isn't it?
Wow. I didn't realize that.
I'm sorry. What? But it all takes place in that one night, afternoon to night time. Yeah. Which is crazy to think, but it's kind of fun. Almost in real time, you feel this play is taking place. But we do a couple of different locations. Aaron Ingersoll is designing the set for you.
Oh my God, it's incredible.
And it takes place in your library, because there's a lot of books, I remember library in there. And then it switches around, it becomes
the sanitarium.
The sanitarium, goes back to the library, back to the sanitarium, goes back and forth. So it's all these spinning things in our little lab theater. So it's all this going on with furniture moving and getting up to different locations, which is a lot of fun there, but a lot of work. So we have a good running crew that's keeping our Aliana Flores is our stage manager who will be navigating all of that. Miru Kim is doing your lights, which obviously is kind of cool because it's a different look for each setting as well. A sanitarium is, of course, bright lights and all that kind of stuff where it's kind of dim in there. So in the rehearsal process, where are you? What's going on at this point?
We are about halfway through Act 2. It's a 3-act play.
Cool.
Peter probably has a different, script as written, it's 3 acts. Peter, I think, is managing it differently.
Yeah, I think we're putting an intermission at a different place as opposed to doing 2 intermissions.
But
we'll do 1 intermission.
if we look directly at the script, right now we just about halfway through Act 2.
And blocking is what? What do you mean by blocking?
Blocking is...
Take notes, kids.
Yes. This is where you should be standing either exactly, especially for lighting cues, or your general area where you can then play with your body movement or your body language. And so right now in the process, it's focused on line delivery and character, but primarily just blocking.
Just mapping out, coming in a door, out the
we're
door,
moving.
not running into
Right.
each other along the way
Yes.
there. And writing down the blocking is a very good idea, so you remember it when you go home to,
Yes.
where did I move, what did I do?
Yes.
So you're doing the blocking now, and then after you finish blocking, you get into, you're wearing costumes too. Soraya,
Yes.
Soraya is our costume designer and giving you rehearsal costumes, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
We all got shoes now.
Oh, cool. And
Yes.
why does that matter?
It, no pun intended, helps you set foot in the character more because, especially if it's a different time period or a character that isn't really identical or similar to you in real life, wearing a different shoes helps you imagine
Putting a
how
mile
they
on those
fell,
shoes,
how
kinda,
they walk,
metaphor,
and then
yeah,
once you
yeah.
know how they walk, how might they stand?
Plus,
And really,
wearing sneakers is different than wearing hard-soled shoes. So it's
Absolutely,
just,
yes.
You know, makes you walk a little different, and having heels on it makes a little bit, heels for you or flats or whatever, makes a difference whether you're, it's standing on high heels or that. And do you wear jackets and hats and skirts yet, or are you coming
Not
into them?
yet.
But we're gonna get them
right. We'll be
eventually.
in the process.
Because you sit different. You know, women
Yes.
in the 21st century sit different than the 1940s. You know,
Yeah.
when you sit on a couch and when you sit. So you've got to be very much aware of being, and especially being a socialite, you want to make sure to do it right. So you're very aware of all those bodily things there. So cool. So I know we have Christine Dunning working on props, and there's a lot of little props in the show, especially books and bottles and things to play with as well. So it's great to have Christine helping with that. And Steven Schwartz, Rod Shepard is doing your sound design, and there's kind of gongs and radios and all this kind of singing in the back and all that kind of stuff. So I know we have all these different fun things happening
effects.
technical-wise on the stage there. So then you'll get into dress rehearsals, yeah? And what does that mean when we get into a dress rehearsal? Where do you know you're heading, and what
That's
do you hope?
Tech week after.
Tech week,
Yeah.
yeah. So you get into the tech part of it. So you're now wearing. You've got to hit those spots that you blocked and say, we got to be there because Miru has put a light there, and if I'm not there for that wonderful moment, I
seen.
miss the wonderful moment. So just
Right.
kind of getting on spot with that there too. Good.
Also, in those Super Saturdays where we have the costume parade, I think that's very solidifying because that way that's like the first time you really see everybody all together. So that just feeds the energy of what this final production is going to look like. And if there are any errors, then that's the time to fix them.
Time to fix them now,
Yeah.
right, a week before. And you'll know what hair's looking like, and you'll know
Yes.
all those kind of things. Make it different. And suddenly you look at someone that you've been looking at, Zachary, and suddenly he's wearing this hat and a suit, and you go, oh, this is a different person.
Right,
I'm going to play with that person. That's kind of a cool, in the moment kind of thing there, because it's like, now I've got to see him as he is now, not what I've been thinking about him for the last 6 weeks in the rehearsal period there as well. That's cool. And so the show is going to run at Interhall Lab Theater. You both worked a lot in Interhall Lab.
Yes.
You've done several shows there. Do you like the lab over the Saccone, or do you have a preference to the two, or no?
I don't have a preference. Definitely each stage has its own uses because the Saccone is the proscenium arch, and it's the gorgeous, huge stage in theater, which I think that one does great for musicals. But the Enderhall Lab is a black box and has been moved around and is very versatile. And it's
very intimate, very
Exactly.
intimate, very intimate. It's kind of nice to be that intimate and then have the distance in the Saccone Theater, so it's fun playing the both. And it's great that you guys have had the opportunity to do both, and I think that's great training for an actor to have that opportunity. The show opens October 25th. We'll run 2 weekends in the Enderhall Lab Theater, so it's going to run on opens on a Friday night, 2 shows on Saturday, and then the following week, Thursday, Friday, and 2 shows on Saturday. We will actually have a show on Halloween. We're at the Interhall Lab Theater. Guys, I can't believe we're done talking. Zachary, Gabriella, thank you so much for being part of today's show. Break a leg with the show. Thank you for watching today's episode, and we'll see you at Harvey's. Thank you for tuning in, and see you soon.